It all started with a small immigrant family. We left Ukraine looking for a new life. Since we had no money for the city, we ended up in London. London, Ontario, of course. Most hopeful immigrants ended up in a house they couldn't afford. But a Russian family friend helped my mom get a job as an accounting assistant. Everything my mom, whose name is Danik, earned was used for the mortgage payment. My dad wasn't very helpful. He tried, but people didn't trust him. I had no friends to play with, except for my mom's computer. And to be honest, we got along very well. I'm talking about the internet, video games, forums, chat rooms with strangers. Easy access to information and infinite possibilities. And that's what made me want to go to college. Unfortunately, I learned early on that I would need to save money to pay for my college. My job was clicking. I created traffic on websites by changing my IP address and visiting the same site several times. It was boring, but it was easy money. For every 1,000 clicks, I earned $1. It wasn't much, but every big thing has small beginnings, right? Time passed and I wanted to learn more about how the world worked. Especially money in the world. The internet was full of ideas and opinions. About the banking system, the financial crisis, the vulnerability of the system. And the need for change. But some things never changed. That's how I grew up. As you can see, it wasn't a fairy tale. It's true. I hated the bank that fired my mother. I spent years saving that money. I had made a deposit at a college. And now I was going to lose everything. I had to start over. But I didn't have time to waste. The dark web was a group of online hackers that was appearing a lot in the news. I was surprised their site hadn't been taken down. It seemed simple at first. I just needed to create an account and register. But real access wasn't given so easily. I had to send a sample of my work and be invited by a member. It was something illegal. That's how they tested the newbies. For me, it seemed simple, but I needed a victim. And there was a guy at school, Range, who really deserved it. I created a very simple site that sold fake supplements, and Range fell for it. I passed the information to the dark web, and before I knew it, one of the guys was communicating with me. Known as Roosevelt, he gave me low-level access. In fact, it was more of a job. Black market negotiations. The first time, he sent me some powerful gaming notebooks. And I was supposed to sell them. So I checked the classifieds. And found a buyer. I set Roosevelt's share and bought a new notebook for myself. In other words, it was business, and I liked it. It took me 4 years to save $30,000. This time, I made it in 4 weeks. Unfortunately, my payment was late, and the university said I could only start in January. So I needed money to live. I earned enough money for Roosevelt to gain access to a new level on the dark web. I could buy credit card numbers and fake IDs. And use them for online purchases. I couldn't use the classifieds to find buyers in the city. There were too many undercover cops. So I tried my luck at pawn and jewelry shops. A difficult day. That's when I met Cy. I thought about Zed's words and realized that university life wasn't for me. I called Cy. I told him I wanted to try something bigger, something the dark web was known for. The forums had lists of corrupt bankers who should be punished. But we needed to get into their wallets because the online information was widely protected. As I said, the bankers are all corrupt, and the dark web wants to punish them. So I wanted to join the fight for the cause. And of course, I couldn't have done any of this without Cy. He knew a lot of people in many different places. The bank that fired my mom, that owned our mortgage, appeared on the vulnerable list. And I wanted to find a way to kick them in the balls. That's how I met Kira. At first, she thought I was an idiot. We were excited about Kira. She convinced us to buy a credit card printer. I have a few thousand blank cards I got from Thailand. We can print them here. And sell them on the dark web or use them in stores. We used our old team to get the card numbers, printed duplicates, put them in magazines. And sent them to buyers. This is your Bitcoin address. Then she made us use Bitcoins, an electronic currency that's practically untraceable. And people, of course, used it to pay for the cards. Then she introduced us to a search engine where you could apparently buy a nuclear bomb and no one would know. She proved to be very useful in practice. Kara gave us an upgrade. She managed to find targets with much larger wallets. That's how we managed to buy big and expensive toys. She used a social network called Mile to advertise our products to our buyers. When it came time to sell, Kara was surprisingly good. We also found a quiet place in Hong Kong where we could work. All our money and equipment stays here. Every time we used a card, we made a test purchase online to make sure it wasn't blocked. But we had hundreds of cards, it was hard to keep everything updated. A locked card had been cancelled. If we used the duplicate, the terminal would recognize it as fake and alert the cashier to keep it and call the police. It's a big risk when we don't test the card. We still got clients on Mile. But I felt like we weren't getting anywhere. We weren't sending a message or hurting the system. We were just making money. Remember the Colombian who had left his credit card at the strip club in Toronto? He was chasing us. He couldn't get us on the first transaction. But he was ready for the second. If Cy hadn't come back, Kira and I would surely be dead. After Cy's death, Zed gave us our final mission. He told us a team was waiting for us, and they would do whatever we asked. He knew about what happened to my friend, and understood it must be difficult for me. But he wanted me to tell myself, I will still complete this damn job. But I had my own plans. This is for Cy, you bastard. It was impossible for me to know that these guys who kidnapped me were Zed's people. I knew and didn't know what to do. I knew I needed to find Kira. She told me about a place where no one would find us. Bangkok, Thailand. I waited and waited for her. But she never showed up. And at that moment, I remembered my parents. I had forgotten them. Completely. She couldn't have died. She must have left a clue. Deep down, I hoped that Kira was still alive. And that she would find me. But with each passing day, I lost hope. And then, after 2 years, I was released. I received a royal pardon. I could hardly believe it because I was released under my fake name. But the most important thing was that I was free. If you want a recap of your favorite movies and shows, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. See you next time, everyone.